has a range of exchange programs that bring people to the United States to see firsthand how our government works, how business operates, and to experience our way of life. And those visitors, many of them, are some of the best ambassadors that our country has, because they come back to their homes in London or Belfast or Edinburgh with concrete information about the United States. And they have an understanding about our country beyond the kinds of things you see on television or YouTube or whatever. They see the everyday life of Americans working, studying, and living their lives in one of the most diverse countries on the planet. So if we are to combat isolationism and isolation and division, we need to do all that we can to encourage the natural curiosity and affinity between our people and our countries and among all countries. What, if you will, for a minute, is the role of the relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom in the face of the three challenges that I've outlined? Just a little bit of background, if I may. Since 1974, the number of democracies worldwide has quadrupled. And in the past 10 years alone, the number of democracies has almost doubled to over 120 nations. Today, there are over 1 billion people living in democracies who only 30 years ago lived under dictatorships. And electoral democracy is now the dominant form of government in the world. And before I arrived in the United Kingdom, it was suggested to me by some people that while we all agree that democracy is a wonderful system, it was not really something that one spent a great deal of time talking about. And I think they were telling me that it wasn't polite to boast. And that might have been true in the past, but in the faces of these challenges, we must hold fast to the truths that we can rely on. And the nature of the relationship between our countries is one of the truths because it is built on something essential, something permanent, something in our democratic DNA. We are driven by shared values, shared aspirations, and a shared sense of how our responsibilities and duties as two countries together have a role in helping lead the world. It is our unity in the protection of those values that creates the sense that our link is not only special, but unique. And it is our unity in the promotion of those values around the world that helped ensure the last quarter of the 20th century produced the greatest expansion of democracy in history. Certainly, you, I'm sure, would all agree with me that democracy is not a perfect system. But as Winston Churchill once said, no one pretends that democracy is perfect or all wise. Indeed, democracy is the worst form of government, except all those other forms that have been tried from time to time. So I may debate the issues with my British friends, and we may sometimes disagree about tactics and approach, but we always come to the same questions. What can we do about world poverty, climate change, and extremism? What can our two nations do together about these challenges? What can we do today to build the future? Now, I know there's a lot of discussion in the press about anti-Americanism, but that's not been my experience in the United Kingdom. Many people in the United Kingdom and in Europe disagree with some aspects of U.S. foreign policy. That's hardly news. There's some disagreements in the United States, significant disagreements with aspects of our foreign policy. But if you look deeper, there are issues on which the British, Americans, and Europeans all agree. They agree that Iran should be prevented from gaining nuclear weapons. They agree that there should be more cooperation to promote democracy and to secure our energy supplies. But by far, the greatest shared point of agreement is the need to protect our climate, and that's a view that continues to grow, especially in my country. And that kind of international cooperation has led to some significant accomplishments that are too often overlooked in the midst of other pressing issues. The international community, and in particular the UN Security Council, permanent members, plus Germany, has worked tirelessly to contain Iran's nuclear aspirations through not just one, but 2 UN resolutions calling on Iran to comply with the International Atomic Energy Agency requirements. And more work is now underway on a new UN Security Council resolution, as well as bilateral work that will help to prevent Iran from making profit in the international marketplace, as long as they refuse to meet the terms set out by the UN. In the Middle East, Tony Blair has been asked by the Quartet to bring continuity to their ongoing work in support of the Palestinians in the area of economic development and private sector partnerships. Just last month, Secretary Rice traveled to the Middle East and to London in order to lay the groundwork for an international conference sponsored by the United States. And the pressure brought to bear by the international community has borne fruit, even in North Korea, as evidenced by the UN's confirmation of the closure of the 5 nuclear facilities at the Yongbyon complex, and by North Korea's agreement to disable all such facilities by the end of the year. As one of the 6 party members, the United States continues to work with our international colleagues on the disclosure required of North Korea on uranium, as well as the overall denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. So clearly, there are many aspects of the international agenda with their agreements, and there is ample evidence of the international community at work. But at its heart, it is a transatlantic engine of liberal democracy, powered by the shared values and common purpose of the United Kingdom and the United States. That engine is the enduring legacy of the special relationship. The United States and the United Kingdom have stood shoulder to shoulder, not only in tests of military and geopolitical might, but in addressing poverty, social injustice, climate change, and the causes as well as the results of extremism. We certainly don't claim to be perfect or all wise, but we have worked tirelessly towards a safer and more secure future. My own journey of public diplomacy has opened up new worlds to me, and I have discovered for myself that there's far more that binds our 2 countries together in spirit that can never divide us in practice. The United States and the United Kingdom are partners, not because we always agree, but because we know that on these challenges, we are on the same side and heading in the same direction. What we are willing to fight for is not who we are, but what we value, and that is found in the diversity of our countries and the strength of all of our people. So I started talking about public diplomacy and the different levels at which it operates. On one level, we have government officials and ambassadors exchanging views and positions. And perhaps at what you might call the other end of the spectrum, we have sellout crowds to see Manchester United playing in the United States, or the American National Football League game played just a few weeks ago in the new Wembley Stadium. But our relationship is special because we also have everything in between. The future is not founded on relationships between presidents and prime ministers, or even ambassadors, though they are important at times in getting things done. The future of the relationship